For our upcoming feature, we again train the spotlight on one of the country's business movers. If there is anyone I have ever seen who is so passionate about rice farming in the Philippines, it is this man, the father of hybrid rice in the Philippines, Mr. Henry Lim Bon Liong.
Lim Bon Liong is of Chinese descent, but he is quick to say that he was born here in Malabon, in fact, and he grew up in Malabon and Binondo, where the family moved. He studies what is now known as San Lorenzo Academy in Binondo for his grade school, moved to Letran for his high school education, and then to UP Diliman, where he graduated with a degree in engineering. The eldest of 8 children, he grew up with 6 brothers and 1 sister. As a young student, he already helped out in the family business, true to his parents' Chinese values.
Being the eldest, I really have to help my father, but I also felt that having an engineering course is not sufficient enough for business also, because there's no accounting courses in engineering, so I have to take up a lot of other courses in Ateneo this time. So I can be partly also Atenean, because all the short courses of Ateneo School of Business at that time, which is in Padre Faura, was offering. I was in every class of those courses, personal management, accounting for non-accountants, whatever. And of course, and then, at that time I planned to take up also MBA in the States. I was actually admitted to 2 universities in California, but I opted to stay here because of my father. And it's good that I did not go for my MBA, because my father passed away in 1976. I was only 24 years old at that time. So being the eldest, a Chinese tradition, Filipino Chinese families, the tradition is that the eldest will have to take up the colleges, and together with my younger brother Joseph, who just finished also engineering at UP at the same time, so we were able to expand the business.
Henry relates that working for the family business meant that he was involved in marketing, delivery sales, and was even working as a bodeguero for the family business.
My mother was born here. That's why the name of my mother is Maria. She was born in Paco. My father came here when he was only 11 years old. So, and then, my father started as a small bookstore in 1946, right after the war. And at that time, he was only 20 years old. And he got married in 1950. I was born in 1951. And then we actually ran a small bookstore in Chinatown at that time. And then in the early 60s, we branched out to paper product manufacturing. So we did photo albums, stationeries, autographs, stamp albums. I can still remember that. And later on, we branched out producing notebooks and other school and office supplies.
Henry's family is known for their longtime family business, which grew over the years to become what is now known as the Sterling Paper Group of Companies.
Sterling brand was born in 1916. So we have finally the Sterling notebooks. But unfortunately, the first notebook that came out from our factory, my father passed away already, because I still remember the first notebook that came out was in May of 1976. My father passed away March 29 of 1976. So he was not able to see the first notebook that we had manufactured now.
Sterling was a flagship company when the family branched out into greeting cards. With this new product, they put up their own expressions outlets, now numbering over 70 stores. Growing up, Henry never experienced working for any other company except the family business.
I was telling my people that if I work for somebody, I would not be a good employee. I'll be terminated right away. But I consider myself an entrepreneur, and was telling some people also that do not think that you can also be an entrepreneur, because entrepreneur and professional manager are different species. And I can tell you why I read a lot of books. Even Steve Jobs is an entrepreneur. He can never be a good professional manager. If you see the life of Steve Jobs, the reason why he was kicked out of Apple because he has this a lot of disagreement with Scully, who happens to be the CEO, in which Steve Jobs is the one who brought in Scully. There are a lot of things, and I've been a commencement speaker for many universities. I was telling them that once you graduated from this college, you finish your course. If you go out of college, there are only two paths that you can really pursue. One is to be self-employed. Another one is to be employed. Now, whatever the path you took, as long as you have the passion.
He is proud to say that he learned his trade from his father, whose motto and challenge was always to sell high and sell more, contrary to the old Chinese saying that advises businessmen to sell low and sell more.
That's why when you can see our product lines, be it from notebook to my industrial subdivisions or to my rice at the moment, the Doña Maria rice, you can see that our price is always the highest in the market. But we sell like notebooks, even if we are highest in the market. If you use SM and National Bookstore as a barometer, we sell the most number of notebooks in these stores. So this is what, at least, been following the advice of my father. But of course, that's a big challenge. Sell high and sell more.
Of course, it is common knowledge by now that Henry Lim Bon Liong is acknowledged as the father of hybrid rice in the Philippines. It is interesting to hear how he found himself in this line.
I was so astonished or whatever, curious on how come China has a big population yet they can even export some of the grains. And because of that, I did my own research. I found out that China has a big population. They have 22% of the entire world population, and yet the arable land area is less than 7% of the total arable land area in the world, and they can still be self-sufficient. And then when I found out that the key for China's self-sufficiency was really hybrid rice, and I was able to meet the father of hybrid rice of China, and we were able to create some sort of a friendship between me and the national. He is considered as a national treasure of China. That he graciously imparts his knowledge about hybrid rice for my company, for me to develop hybrid rice in the Philippines.
But the hybrid rice before can never be planted here at home. It grew well in China with its temperature regions, but the Philippines is a tropical country, and it is an altogether different story for hybrid rice production in the Philippines. Henry remembers the tremendous sacrifices he had to go through to bring his plans into fruition.
Whether I should say that sacrifice, of course, even the lives of my mother, my brother, Willie, because they died in the car accidents, and I was also seriously injured way back in 2000. And it was only 2 months after the accident. And through the intercession of my mother, that we were able to come out with a good variety of hybrid rice. Because we cannot, at that time when we were, even though if you have the technology from China, but so difficult to come out with hybrid rice because at that time we cannot even stabilize the line. Unless I stabilize that line, the rice seeds are going to give the farmers, sometimes the yield is very high, sometimes there's no yield at all. So it's very, very dangerous. November 17, we opened 2000, we opened a department store in Olongapo, Mart 1, our first department. So on our way back that night, our family van was hit by a container trailer head on. In that accident, I lost my mother was sitting on my left side. I lost my younger brother, Willie, who was sitting on my right side. Both of them died in the accident. The driver died the next day. I was seriously injured. I have 5 broken ribs, 3 in the left, 2 at the right, with cracked pelvic and hematothorax on my blood vessels in my lung busted. The doctor has to insert a tube, withdraw more than 2 liters of blood out of my lungs. My hemoglobin dropped to 7.6 from 14.5. I suffer from vertigo. I thought I'm going to die in the accident. But exactly 2 months after the accident, at that time I was even cursing to heaven what just has to happen to our family. But 2 months after the accident, January 17, 2001. My leading scientist who came from China, according to him, early in the morning, his bed was moving. He thought it's an earthquake. When he opened his eyes, he was so surprised to see my mother standing in front of him, talking to him. You know, my mother, Maria ang pangalan eh. She was born in Paco, but my mother went back to China for education. That's why she can speak Mandarin very fluently. And all of my technicians and scientists from China, they only speak Mandarin. And when they got sick, my mother is the one taking care of them, so they are very attached to my mother. That morning, my mother talked to the leading professor, Professor Zhang, and tell him that the next morning you should go out to the field and take a careful look at all the rice flowers, because there were 40 hectares at that time doing hundreds of plots of this crossbreeding. And according to Professor Zhang, he was even arguing with my mother. He said, yesterday or one day before, earlier, he has already inspected all of them. None of them are stabilized. He's actually going to plow it under and redo everything again. But my mother said, no, you better take a second look. So according to the professor, when he woke up the second time, he rushed out to the field. The sun starts to come out, the big magnifying glass, and then he heard a small voice said, go directly to plot number 8. So I spent the whole morning plot number 8 looking at all the small rice flowers. Around lunchtime, I received a call from him. He was congratulating me. He said, look, we finally stabilized the line already. We can mass produce the seeds and distribute to the farmers. And he was not claiming the honor for himself. He was telling me about my mother. That's why the first variety of hybrid rice that we came out was called SL8H. 8 is in plot number 8 where we have the stabilization. SL is the initial of my father. H does not stand for Henry, H stands for hybrid.
So for the next 3 seasons, Henry distributed seeds to farmers from the north to the south. These farmers used to produce 3 to 4 tons of rice for every hectare they planted. But with the new hybrid seeds, they were harvesting 10 tons, even as high as 17 tons of rice per hectare. Henry's mother and brother passed away from the tragic accident, but he credits her for his steadfast faith in his hybrid seeds. It is now won not only the Philippines but in other Southeast Asian nations as well, like Indonesia, Vietnam, Myanmar, and also Bangladesh. Henry's brand is also now in Papua New Guinea, and he has been invited to bring it to Africa, specifically Nigeria.
There is something that we cannot really comprehend, the work of the being from above who really do things mysteriously. I had to lose my mother in order to gain a variety called SL8H. And practically right now we are changing the rural landscapes, especially of farmers in central Luzon.
Farmers in Nueva Ecija and Cagayan Valley attested to the phenomenal gains they have received from this hybrid rice variety. Out of the 160,000 hectares of rice fields in Nueva Ecija, had are planted to Henry's hybrid seeds.
The arithmetic is very simple. At 10 tons per hectare, for example, the price of pala is around 18 to 20 pesos per kilo. You make a gross of 200,000 pesos. Now, you'll not be spending more than 35,000 pesos now for your inputs and labor. So you make what? You make more than 150,000 pesos net. Lalo pa kung sa iyong lupa.
Such is the confidence of Henry, such is his faith in the benefits of hybrid rice to our farmers.
Right, one farmer has only 2 hectares of rice land. Because of planting hybrid, he sent his only daughter to college, was able to buy a hand tractor to mechanize farm, and also lease out his hand tractor. He was able to buy several tricycles, pangpasada. No wonder, no, he put a tarpaulin at the back of his tricycle. Alam mo, ang nakalagay dyan, hindi ba? Katas ng SL8H. Sabi ko, dati ba katas ng Saudi?
There are in fact thousands of stories like this, according to Henry, if only our government will take a hard look at the situation of our rice farmers.
Can you imagine the biggest irony is that I'm exporting hundreds and hundreds of metric tons of seeds to Vietnam, and yet we are importing the rice coming from Vietnam. The Vietnam is saying, oh, Mr. Lim, we are buying the seeds from you. We use your seeds and then we produce the rice. and then sell back the rice to the Philippines.
Henry ventured into agriculture only in 1998 during the time of the Asian financial crisis. He admits to having spent a fortune in agriculture when he could have gone into real estate during that period. Today, Henry Lim Bon Liong's empire includes real estate, his internet cafes, and his involvement in the paper products, but his heart will always be in agriculture. Being very busy, Henry says he has to find precious time for his family, although his wife, who hails from Apari, is not particularly fond of traveling. Henry says this is a good time to bond with his family, including his wife, his daughters, and his son. And of course, giving back to the community that has served him well is also among his priorities.
I'm the president of the Philippine Song Chingling Association. Song Chingling is a Song Chingling Foundation. Song Chingling is a foundation that really helps the poor, the orphanages. That's why we have our tie-up with Bantay Bata. We give out scholarship. We do feeding programs. And then personally, I have also my rice bucket challenge that I'm giving out 5,000 buckets of rice every year, especially during my birthday, to 5,000 poor families. And then I challenge also my business friends, like Manny B. Pangilinan, of course, like Vicky Bello, my Go Negocios, Joy Concepcion's, and all of this. And the 5,000 buckets suddenly became 30, 40,000 buckets, 50,000 buckets. Even my senior executives in my own company also do their own rice bucket challenge. So there are a lot of CSR we are doing. And aside from that, I'm also the executive vice president of the Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chamber of Commerce. And we have a barrio school program. We donated 5,000 barrio school buildings all over the Philippines, from Batanes to Tawi-Tawi. And personally, our own family, we've also donated more than 50, 60 school buildings already. So, one school building is around 2 classrooms. So we have more than 10,000 classrooms, and we have around 600,000 students every day studying in the classroom built by the Federation of Filipino-Chinese Chamber of Commerce.
Obviously, Henry found his calling and was able to carve his own niche. It may not be true for all aspiring entrepreneurs.
Not everybody is cut out to be an entrepreneur. Kung puro entrepreneur lahat, wala tayong empleyado. Diba? So there should be a balance. That's why I'm saying that out of 100 people, only 12 people, according to statistics, not on my own, that only 12 people was able to make it as, the other 80 plus, siguro naging empleyado naging professional manager. So maybe that's a good, also balance. But as I said, it's a different mindset. It depends on you. But as long as you pursue your passion, whether you be a professional manager or whether if you are an entrepreneur, as long as you're happy on what you're doing, then you should do it.
The plight of the rice farmers in the Philippines is still at the top of Henry's concerns. However, with the brewing tensions in the South China Sea between China and our country, Henry cannot help but be concerned about the possibilities. He hopes to be instrumental in forging lasting peace and says that this is another aspiration that he hopes to be able to achieve in his lifetime.
This is indeed another inspiring story from our own backyard. A Filipino who has helped bring the rice farmers' dreams of a better life come true.